I've been talking about how I'm going to talk to you more about the hair growth, more about what you need to know about hair growth. Christina, thank you. So first of all, I'm taking my knowledge from what I have read, from research that I've done. I don't know why it is so hot. Oh my gosh. I'm taking my research from what I have read and what I have studied and things. And I want you to know that you can also go on Google. You can search for hair growth cycle. And we're going to be talking more about hair growth cycle. We're going to be talking more about how it helps and what is going on. Okay. So good morning. I see Sandra from Kansas City. Thank you, Sandra. See, I cannot wipe my face because I have my acne medication on. So let me bring my kids' photo from camp because that has really helped cool me down. If you guys are dealing with menopause, premenopause, you know what I'm dealing with, why this is happening. It didn't happen yesterday. It doesn't always happen. But all of a sudden, my body gets extremely hot. And I don't... Lord Almighty, this is what I have to look forward to. Anyway, let us move on. So, hair growth. Your hair is growing. We talked about that yesterday. We talked about why your hair might seem as if it's not growing, but it is growing. So the hair growth cycle. So there are different stages when it comes to your hair growth. You have different levels or different stages of different cycles. So where I'm gonna go, let me go back to the article that I went on that gave me information that I want to talk to you guys about. Let's visit that. Okay, so there are four main stages when it comes to hair growth. Stage number one. So the thing I'm looking at, Healthline. This is the website I'm looking at, Healthline. And we're going to just go down this article. You can read it yourself, but I think some people prefer hearing people talk than reading it. Okay? So it says, what are the four stages of hair growth? Now, the growth and loss of hair may seem like a simple process whereby you grow your hair, you lose your hair, but the hair growth cycle is actually composed of four distinct phases. These stages of hair growth have been studied in great depth to better understand how hair grows and what might be done to prevent and treat premature hair loss. So that's the focus, premature hair loss. The three phases are anagen, catagen, telogen. These phases, they cover the growth and the maturity of hair and the activities of your hair follicles that produce each individual hair. So let's break this down. Your hair, okay? As this is your hair. A lot of people, this is what they're bothered about. They just bothered about this part, the part that you see, okay? But the part that you need to also be bothered about is what happens underneath that scalp, okay? Yes, you are bothered about this because you want to retain this, you want this to stay, but you should also know that taking care of your scalp health also plays a factor. Now, okay, so let's move on. During the final stage, so there's a stage called exogen, exogen. So during that phase, that is when old hair sheds and through usually a new hair is getting ready to take its place. So let me explain that for those that don't know. When your hair goes through cycles. Similarly, as I mentioned yesterday, as a human being, you go through cycle. You are born, you're an infant, you're a toddler, you're a child, you're a preteen, you're a teenager, you're a young adult, you're an adult, you're an elderly, you die, and that is it, okay? The only difference between the human life cycle and the hair life cycle is that the hair life cycle, the exogen part, the part where you are dead, there's something else growing underneath that follicle. As long as that follicle is healthy, that area is healthy. So another hair is growing out. That's why sometimes you look at your hair, and I'll give you an example for mine. You see some small hair. Some small hair could be that it is hair that is growing back again from where once shedded out normally or prematurely. It could also be breakage. So there's no way to distinct between, is the short hair, is it breakage, or is it new hair? You just have to understand that this happens, and so is so, okay? So we have those 4 stages, and we're going to go through each of those stages for you to better understand. Now, why do I talk about this? I talk about this because I am not one person that will just say, oh, use this on your hair, do this to your hair, or if you apply this oil, apply this hair. I want you to understand the science behind what is going on with your hair, because I believe knowledge is power, and I believe when you understand what is going on with your hair, you can do better. You can stress less about, oh my gosh, what's da 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 da. You can understand how medications affect your hair. You can understand how products can affect your hair. You can understand how your well-being, your health also affects your hair, so that you're not like just running helter-skelter using different concoctions and different products to combat something that could just be happening naturally. So if this is helping you, please follow this page, please share. Hello, Edith, thank you so much for coming. So let's start. Now, each phase has its own life cycle, has its own timeline. Thank you. Good morning, Joyce. I'm doing good this morning. So you have each of these phases, right, as we're saying. So each of these phases has its own time cycle. Now, this time cycle, as when your hair is growing, when your hair is resting, when your hair is exiting your head, it all depends on three main factors. It depends on your age, it depends on your nutrients, and it also depends on your overall health. Okay, so if you're someone that you are older in age, some parts could be lagging versus if you're someone that you are younger in age. And also, if you're someone that you eat healthy, some parts might be thriving. Whereas if you're someone that overall your health is not good, you don't take care of yourself. Uzona, thank you so much for coming. You don't take care of yourself, you don't do the right thing, and you complain that why is my hair not growing? Why am I losing hair? So just understand your age, your nutrition, and your overall health. You notice I'm not talking about any product. I'm not saying, oh, if you're using this most expensive product, if you're using da. I'm not talking about that. Please thumbs me up if you're understanding what I'm saying. Okay, thumbs me up, like, share this. Stages of hair growth. The anagen. The first stage of hair growth, anagen, that is what is known when somebody says, oh, my hair is going through a growing stage. Do you notice that there are sometimes that you'll be like, oh my gosh, in the summer or during this time, my hair is growing. Ooh, it's growing. Anagen. Now, the next stage is catagen. That is when your hair is going through a transition. I'm going to go through each of these stages in depth. Now, the third stage is telogen. This is when your hair seems as if my hair is not growing, your hair is at rest, is in a resting stage. And then the last stage is called exogen. That is when your hair, you are shedding. It's the shedding process. Some people will say, oh my goodness, I noticed that every December I shed like a dog. So you have to understand what that is, okay? Edith, I see you. So let's talk about anagen, okay? And I'm going to drop the link of this so that you guys can also read in depth and understand better. This is the best article I have found that has helped me understand, and I just want to bring it to you guys. So the anagen stage, as I told you, is called the growing phase. That is when your hair is growing. The stage of hair growth begins with anagen phase. Once the hair exits, goes through that exogen phase, the next phase is going around. It's a cycle. That's the difference between human life cycle and hair life cycle. So it's going through that anagen phase. Now, the anagen phase is the longest phase, and it usually lasts between 3 and 5 years. Yes. So you see how in understand, you might say that, oh, but I thought it's just within a year. No, it could be longer. So according to the research that has been done, they say 3 to 5 years for the hair to be on your head. That is why your hair, Favor, I'm sending you love too. That is why your hair, you don't see that your hair is short and it's 5 years. 3 to 5 years. But one thing you should understand is that it's not all of them that is 3 to 5 years. Every hair strand has its own life cycle, hair growth cycle. Let me explain this. Every strand of your hair that the Lord has counted has its own growth cycle. So this strand, I'm going to loosen my hair for you just to better explain to you. I'm going to take a strand of my hair, right? Strand of my hair. Now, this is a strand of my hair. You cannot see it, but this is how long the strand of my hair is. I wish I could have a, let me see if I have a black something to show you. It's very hard because I don't have a black paper or whatever. But anyway, you understand. This is one strand of my hair. This is the end of the strand of the hair. Now, this hair has its own life cycle. Maybe it went through the anagen. Maybe right now it's going through the growing phase. And it has gone through the exogen phase. Now, this is another strand of my hair. Okay? This is another strand of my hair. You see how long this strand of hair is? This one might have been 5 years. It might be 5 years that it has been growing. That is why when people ask you and say, how long is your hair? Oh, how old is your hair? I don't like answering that question because each strand of hair has its own life cycle. One strand could be 5 years old, 7 years old or whatever. But overall, I just tell people that, look, I cut my hair, I transitioned at this time, so time, and I trim my hair and my hair is on my head. That is it. So your hair has a life cycle, right? Okay, let's move on. Now, it's the longest growth phase. The growing phase is the longest phase. It lasts about 3 to 5 years for the hair on your head. Though, listen to this, though for some people, a single hair, like the long one I showed you, continues growing for 7 or more years. A single, so this one that I'm showing you could be more than 7 years. So understand that even though it's like 3 to 5 that it lasts, it doesn't mean that after the growing phase is done. Not all of them, because each hair strand has its own growth cycle, right? So one thing is this. For example, we have hair all over our body, right? Each hair all over our body goes through the similar hair cycle. But the difference is that the phases of anagen, that each part of our hair, meaning that our hair on our head, our hair on our eyebrow, our hair that pops up on our chin once in a while, our hair in our pubic area, our hair on our leg, our hair on our hand, our hair on our armpit, anywhere that there's hair, each of them goes through a cycle. Now, the thing is this, the cycle for hair on our eyebrow, hair on our hand, hair on our leg, hair on our pubic area is shorter. It's shorter. That is how it was created. And then it's a shorter phase than the hair on our scalp. That is why we are not having hair growing from our eyebrow all the way down to the ground. That's why your eyebrow hair will never grow so much that you'll have to be braiding it. Even though I've seen people braid attachments onto their eyebrow. So yeah, so what is really happening to our hair follicle during the anagen phase? So during the anagen phase, our hair cycle, our hair follicles are pushing out hair. It's pushing out hair and continue growing until you cut it. Good morning, V, Ava. Until you cut it. So, or until they reach their own individual life cycle and fall out through the exogen phase. So that is the anagen. Now, at the time, at any time, you have probably like 90% of your hair in the anagen phase. That's why you see 90% of your hair will still be on your head. So it's not like 90% of your hair is just falling out. That would be drastic. That would be awful, awful. So we've talked about the anagen phase, the growing phase, and I hope that explains a lot to you. Now, the next phase that we have is called the catagen phase. The catagen phase is known as the transition phase. So let me explain that better. Now, we've gone through the growth phase, right? Growing, our hair growing. Okay, let me remove my glasses. Our hair growing, we've gone through the growing phase. Okay, The catagen phase, we're going through a transition phase. The catagen phase starts immediately after the anagen phase ends. And this tends to it can last 10 days. 10 days doesn't last so much. Now, during this time, okay, what is happening is that your hair follicles is shrinking and the growth is slowing down. The growth really slows down. If you are liking this, please thumbs up, like this, because people don't talk about this. All what you see on social media is, oh, use this oil. This oil will grow your hair. Da, 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 da. And people don't talk to people, they don't educate people about the real science. What is actually going on with your hair? Why your hair is acting this way? And people are running up and down. That is why hair growth products, when you just make a product, this is water, and just write hair growth, I will grow your hair. People will buy it. And it's water, they know it's water, but they'll buy it. They will buy it. But you have to, you yourself, you have to educate yourself. Don't wait for people to educate you. Educate yourself to know that, okay, well, my hair, it was growing right now, blah, blah, blah. But then some is slowing down. Okay, it's fine. It's probably going through the catagen. I'm not going to stress myself. I'll just make sure I'm taking care of my hair that is outside. I'm keeping it moisturized, nice and soft. It's not dry. It's healthy. The ends are healthy. Everything is looking good. So what happened during the phase where we're calling the transition phase? Your hair follicle shrinks and the hair growth slows down. The hair also separates from the bottom of the hair follicles and it remains in place until the final day of growth. Now, only about 5%, in this case, is not 90%, 5% of your hair is going through the catagen phase at a time. So that is the good thing about the catagen phase, okay? Now, the next phase is the phase where a lot of people are stressing about. This is known as the telogen phase. Now, the telogen phase is one phase where it is called the resting phase. That is when your hair is at rest. Hi, Taito Singh. Your hair is at rest. Now, this phase where your hair is at rest can last 3 months. Now, listen to this. Some people will say, oh, it looks as if my hair is not growing. Da, 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 da. Usually, whenever I tell people to try products, if you come to my lives a lot, you know that when I tell you try products, how many months do I usually say you should try products for? I always say, give it at least 3 months, unless you try products and your hair start coming out in clumps. Stop it right there. We know what happened to my youngest daughter. We're not going to get into that. When she made her own hair product and it just ruined her hair. 3 months. The telogen phase lasts 3 months. However, a big however. Now, listen, don't leave. If you're going to leave, this is the wrong time to leave. The reason why your hair feels as if it is staying and not growing and staying in this phase is because so many things could happen during this phase that will extend that 3 months to longer time. That 3 months can be extended to longer time. Now, let's say hair doesn't grow during the telogen phase. If your hair strand is going through a telogen phase, the hair is not growing, but they don't fall out. They are stagnant. They're in a slow stagnant. They just arrested. The telogen phase is also when new hair starts to form and the follicle just released during the catagen phase. So the hair that is released, that is lessing up, it is during that telogen phase that it starts to grow. Sharon, welcome to this is Sharon's first time watching. Thank you so much for watching. Please follow my Facebook page, Discovery Natural, my YouTube channel, Discovery Natural. Follow me on Instagram if you are not. And you can also click on the link, linktree/Discovery Natural. You'll find me there. I'm also on Amazon. Okay, so now some people will say the telogen phase is the shedding phase, blah, 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 blah. But one thing you should notice about the telogen phase, hi Janet, the telogen phase is that listen to this, if you are sick during that phase, if there's something going on with your health, If, let's say, you just had a baby, let's say something is going on really badly with your health, you're not eating right, whatever, your body can extend that telogen phase to a longer phase. We're going to go deeper into that. I'm going to go jump. Just hold that up. If you're someone that you are going through some health issues, your body could jump to that telogen phase. Your body could be arrested in that telogen phase, making it seem as if your hair is not growing. And you're like, I'm not losing hair, but my hair doesn't grow. I'll be like, does your hair break? No, my hair doesn't break. Does your hair, are you shedding a lot? No, I'm not shedding a lot, but my hair is still the same length. Then I'll say, what else is happening? Well, I've been stressed. I've not been sleeping. I've not been eating right. I don't exercise. I've not just been well. I've had, this sickness and stuff. Your body might have arrested in that telogen phase. So what happens? Something that should have stayed 3 months, and the next phase should start, and your body is contradicting itself, your body is fighting against itself. What happens to other hair strands that are going through other phases? It will slow things down. So we have to understand what is actually happening. Now, the last phase that I talked about is the exogen phase. This is when your hair just sheds out. That is why we always say, oh, your hair sheds 100 strands a day, blah, 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 blah. Let's talk more about that. Now, the exogen phase is essentially an extension of a part of the telogen phase of growth. Some specialists say that during this phase, that is when hair sheds from the scalp. You can lose up to 50 to 100 strands per day during this phase. And during this phase, you can last 2 to 5 months while it's growing back. So you can see how I touch, like this is one strand of hair that is growing. This is another strand of hair that is growing. Each of your hair strand, that is why there is nobody in this world, come and argue with me, that will take each of the strands of their hair and they're all the same length. Nobody. You can have hair that is close to the length. Okay? Now, some things that people will say is that, can you extend the anagen phase? Can you extend that growing phase? And we're going to do it together. That is a question I have. So use resources on your phone. I use resources on my phone. So we're going to type, can you extend the anagen phase? Now, the thing is that you now know what it's called. You now know, you have the knowledge that says, oh, okay, I worked on Discover Natural. We have 4 stages. We have the anagen, the catagen, the telogen, and the exogen. So the anagen phase, I know that the anagen phase is the growing phase, but is there something that I can do to extend that anagen phase? So we go back and we read documentation that have been proven to work fine. I like the health line. If I don't see the health line, I read other documentation. Okay, so let's pick the first one we see. The first one we see says, and this is from Better Not Younger blog. It says, the title says, how to increase the anagen phase of hair growth. Now, this is crucial. If you are leaving, this is the wrong time to leave. How do you extend that growing stage so that your hair remains in that growing stage a little bit longer? You cannot stop it from going to the next phase, but maybe there are some things that we can do. So let's learn together, right? So together, they say the maximum length of time hair spends in the anagen phase, otherwise known as the growing phase, varies from person depending mainly on, listen, genetics. Genetics, right? So I always argue with people when they say, oh, genetics has nothing to do with your hair growth. Okay? Yet, various things can interrupt the time our hair spends in that growing phase. We've already talked about it. Your health, your diet, stress, hormones, aging, hormonal changes. For example, if your hair has an increase in an hormone called DHT, this is an hormone that a lot of people balding, a lot of people when you're getting older, you have an hormone called DHT, known as dihydrotestosterone. That is DHT in our system. During menopause, it leads to follicle miniaturization. I don't know what that means, but we'll learn about it. if your hair, as you're getting older, all women, everyone here is going to go through menopause. All women, unless if you are, I don't know if people that change their sex goes through menopause. I don't know. I don't want to go into that. But everybody goes through menopause. Even men go through menopause. I was telling my husband the other day, he was having a meltdown. I was telling him that, somebody is going through menopause. My kids were like, which one is that, mommy? I said, I didn't make it up. Google it. So we go through this thing where we have more DHT in our system. Our body has more of this DHT hormones. That is why you see women have that balding, men balding in the center of their head, balding because they have too much. Some things that can arrest, that can help. There are some shampoos. There's a particular shampoo and conditioner that I have tried, and a lot of people have tried. It's been clinically tried to help because it has a lot of what is known as DHT blockers to block that extra production of DHT hormone in our body. So let's move on. When this happens, your hair that was once healthy, it starts to produce thinner, weaker hair. That is why some of you will come to me and said, I don't know what's going on. My hair is getting thinner. My hair is getting thinner. Why is my hair getting thinner? And I said, okay, you're getting older. They said, yeah, I'm in my 60s, but my hair is getting thinner. It could be that your body is producing more of the DHT hormones, thereby it makes your hair thinner. That's why people that are older, some of them will have thinner hair. Right? So, but there are ways to counteract this issue and increase our hair's time in this active phase. Now, how long, we've already talked about how long your hair is in the phase. We've talked about that earlier. We've talked about, now let us, before we will talk about what can you do to increase that hair growth phase, to increase your hair stay in that hair growth phase, let us first talk about what is making that phase shorter. Your phase is supposed to be like years, right? But there's some things that you can do that you are currently doing that is shortening up that phase, is reducing that phase. Number one, listen, guys. Women, men that are listening to me right now, we have to find a way to manage our stress. Number one reason why our hair is shorter in the growing phase is stress. Stress level. If you have a high stress level, it will affect your hair staying in that growth phase. Number one. Number two, foods you eat, your diet, okay? Food you eat. If your diet is if you have like a restricted diet, if you have like a diet where you all of a sudden you stopped eating so much. I tried it, yeah. So earlier last year, I went through a 4-month process. I was testing this for my fitness channel, and I did ADF. What is ADF? ADF is alternate day fasting, where I didn't eat one day, the next day I ate. I didn't eat the next day I ate. It helped me for my health. It did a lot of things for me, but it also affected my hair drastically. Because what happened was this. Normally, when you do ADF, alternate day fasting, I mean, I lost like 15 pounds, you guys. I lost about 15 pounds. When you do alternate day fasting, your body starts repairing itself, right? But the day that you're supposed to be eating, the following day when you're supposed to be eating, I wasn't eating because my stomach was shrinking, so I could only eat one meal. So in the course of 7 days, eat, don't eat, eat, don't eat. So eat, don't eat, eat, don't eat, eat, don't eat, eat, don't eat, eat. I was only eating 1, 2, 3, about 3 meals. I was only eating a day's worth of meal. So I wasn't eating the right calorie that I had to eat because I couldn't eat 3 meals. Whereas according to ADF, the following day you're supposed to eat 3 meals, and I wasn't taking it. So that drastically affected my hair. My lip was dry. I got insomnia really bad. I couldn't sleep. I had some issues and I had to stop because I didn't know how to manage it. So I could do it again, but more sensibly. So If you reduce the amount of foods, the amount of nutrients your body is getting, it could make that growing phase shorter. Another thing is medication. Medications that you are taking can also affect your hair staying in that growing phase, thereby making your hair seem as if it's not growing at all. Next, hormonal imbalance. If you have hormonal imbalance, that can also affect it. The way you style your hair, you over manipulating your hair, using like combing from the end, doing bad things can affect it. Wearing hairstyles that are too tight. People, hairstyles that are too tight. That's why you don't see me wearing a lot of tight hairstyles. It can affect your hair growth. It can affect your hair and keep your hair in that resting part instead of it extending the anagen part. Now, also, if you go through a traumatic event, let's say that you have an accident, let's say that you have a loss of someone, let's say something happens that jolts your system, it can affect you. Now, let me explain this. Please, thumbs up, like this, click on the give, send stars if this is helping you out. Let me explain this to you. About 5 years ago, I went through something that really affected me emotionally, mentally, affected my whole life. Okay? I went through this, and when I went through this process, that was when my gray hair, I had like 2 other gray hair pop out from my head. Right? So, stress, all that stuff mumbled together. Also, it put my body in a state of perimenopause quickly. I did a video on my family channel, DN Vlogs Life, about this, and it put my body into menopause, as if my body was in menopause. So you see, when you go through a bad situation, if you lose a loved one, if you lose a child or something of that sort, your body talks to you, and these factors may interrupt the growth process and then also of your hair follicle. So, however, when you stimulate your hair follicles and increase your nutrition to your scalp, you can maintain your hair growth for a longer time. So how are we going to maintain our hair growth? How are we going to stimulate that hair follicle? I know that's what you guys want to know. Couple of things that can help. Using products that contain caffeine. Okay, so according to this study done in 2014, they said, a medical study says using products that contain caffeine may help promote hair growth. I actually have a caffeine rinse that I did for some time when I was going through that issue, and it did help. It did help. It jolted my hair out of that resting phase. So if you go on my YouTube channel and ask me if you have a question, you can say, oh, how do I make my caffeine hair rinse? I used it consistently, like I was spraying it in my hair. I was washing my hair. It helps. Like black tea rinses, those kind of things, anything with caffeine, those help. So what it says that the study says that caffeine may help encourage new hair growth at the cellular and molecular level and prolong anagen. So try it out. And also they also say that the study has also shown that female hair follicles were proven to be more sensitive to caffeine than male. So just keep that in mind. To experience it, so you can try doing that. You can mix caffeine. You can, instead of you using water. So what I did was that instead of me, I always use water to spray my hair and stuff. I use caffeine. So that's one thing you could try. Another thing that you could try is improving your diet. Improve what you eat. So you can have female pattern hair loss is very common, and it happens especially we women that are in our 40s, 50s, 60s, we experience that. So try to eat a balanced food diet. You can say, what kind of foods can you eat? Foods that are rich in vitamin D and omega-3 acids, like salmon, fish, those kind of fish, avocado, foods that are rich in vitamin B12, can really boost the follicle hair health. And also oysters, foods that are rich in zinc. You can take zinc. I take zinc supplement. I need to reorder one. I just have to remember zinc. If you have a zinc deficiency, it could be caused because you have inadequate vitamin A. So make sure you are taking that. Eggs, foods that are rich in biotin. So I eat eggs like once a week if I have to. But if you are vegan, you can also look at vegan equivalent. There are also things like biotin hair serum. If you want to know where to get this, drop a link and say, how can I get this biotin hair serum? So when I know my hair is going through a weird phase, I would use a biotin hair serum or something with biotin. You can also take tablets in case if you don't eat this kind of food. You can try that. Foods that are healthy like green vegetables that are high in iron, those also help. Then your vitamins, look at your vitamins, go to the doctor, get a blood work, see what vitamins you are lacking, because what happens is that as we get older, our blood circulation decreases and our body, it cannot sensitify the nutrients that we eat. So that is why as we get older, we take vitamins. We take vitamins. I take a couple of supplements. A couple of supplements I take is fiber supplement. Fiber supplements help with your gut health. If your gut health is healthy, if your gut is doing good, it helps overall. When I take fiber supplements, it also helps reduce, constipation and diarrhea, all that stuff. It keeps things flowing. Helps me with my colon health, right? Also, another thing is that I drink black seed oil. Black seed has a lot of benefits and stuff. I take collagen pills. I take my iron medication. I take my multivitamin and also vitamin C because that works with iron. So you have to take what works for your health and understand your medication. Look at all the medication where a lot of us are on we're on high blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, diabetics medication. A lot of this medication can affect your hair being shorter, shortening that anagen phase. So just be mindful of that. Another thing that can, when you increase the anagen phase for your hair, it will help your hair seem as if it's staying longer. So that is the key thing. So that is what I want to tell. I know I've talked a lot about things today. We talked about the 4 stages of hair growth, the anagen growing phase, the catagen transition phase, the telogen resting phase, the exogen, the exit, shedding phase. You want to do things to promote and elongate the anagen phase, and you don't want to do things to promote that telogen phase. Those are the 2 main phases that I worry about. Right? So you cannot know when one hair is in one phase, but you can know by how you are taking care of yourself that, if my hair just keeps on, but you've been not eating right, you've been stressed, blah, 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 blah. So hopefully this has helped you guys. If you have more questions, write it in the comment area. I will reply you back. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. I'm going to go and moisturize my hair.